start with the Australian, Matt, and look, I love this headline: Moon landing on the radar with visit to each seals ties with Seoul. Australian and South Korean officials are working on plans for an official visit by President Moon Jae-in to Australia before the end of the year, as the nation moves to strengthen strategic and economic ties with its fourth largest trading partner. The likely mid-December visit is being planned to mark the 60th anniversary of diplomatic relations between the countries and would include a signing of a comprehensive strategic partnership agreement. The trip, which is still yet to be finalised, would give a leg up to Korean defence company Hanwha as it vies for a $20 billion contract to build infantry fighting vehicles for the Australian Army. Look, I don't think, not since Squid Game have we been this excited about something coming out of Korea. This is good news, isn't it, for our strategic alliance in our region?
I'm glad you were excited about Squid Game. I'm still traumatised by the experience, I've got to say, Jenna. But I think, yeah, I mean, this is a great move for Australia. It's also an interesting move when it comes to China and South Korea's relationship with China. I think that's really interesting as well because, you know, clearly they're sending a message to Australia, and I'm surprised that South Korea is our fourth largest trading partner, I've got to say. But it sends that message that they're open for business, and obviously they want to bid for that defence contract. But it also sends a message to China, I think, as tensions rise in this region, to say, hey, you know, we're with these guys, you know, and we're on the side of democracy. So yeah, it's an interesting move, an interesting visit, no doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, as I said at the top of the show, all eyes are on this religious discrimination bill. PM locks in protection for gay kids, says the headline. Attorney General Michaelia Cash says a proposed Religious Discrimination Act will not be used as a weapon against gay teachers and students, declaring that no child should be suspended or expelled from school on the basis of their sexuality or gender identity. Scott Morrison will take ownership of the Religious Discrimination Bill by introducing it to Parliament on Thursday, with Senator Cash allaying concerns held by moderate Liberal MPs that gay staff could be sacked by religious-run schools, hospitals and aged care facilities. Look, I think, Matt, we cannot wait to get our eyes on the full bill and read through this legislation line by line, considering it's been touted since 2019. This should allay some of the fears that some Liberal moderates have, and even some moderates in the wider community should have. What do you think?
Well, absolutely, and you know, there is no way that a school should be allowed to discriminate against, you know, a child because of their sexuality. I don't think I'd be surprised, you know, if it happens very often at all in this country, either. To be honest with you, but it shouldn't be allowed to happen. I mean, no school should be able to kick out a student, you know, because they're gay. I think most reasonable Australians would be of that belief. As to the bill itself, you know, I think there are problems all over the place with this bill, and there are a few issues for that. One is that, you know, the reason that this bill has been created is because of probably a failure to deal with 18C and some other issues along the way, and now they're having to bring this bill in basically to deal with some of this state legislation, some of these state anti-discrimination laws that have made it unlawful, you know, for people to say things that they genuinely believe. And I think that's where the bigger problem is. I don't know what the situation is in WA, Jenna, but in the Northern Territory, you know, the government's been trying to bring in new anti-discrimination laws that would make it unlawful to offend or insult someone on the basis of all these different categories, including race, sexuality and disability and some other categories. Now, you know, they're well-meaning laws, no doubt, but in a practical sense, I think they're really problematic. I mean, would a cartoonist, for example, be found to have been doing something unlawful if someone found a cartoon that they drew in relation to sexuality issues offensive? And I think that's really problematic. So this racial discrimination bill is going to protect people if they make those comments on religious grounds. But what if you make them on other grounds? What if you're trying to make a political point? Or what if you're just trying to, you know, be a cartoonist and be funny, God help us. You know, I think that's where we've really run into trouble here.
Yeah, I feel that they're just trying to get into the granular of our society, and I think that that's where people don't really understand that they've had, as Scott Morrison said, they've had the government in their lives for the past 2 years, and if this is what it means now, that they'll be even further inside our houses and inside our private lives even more, it's going to spell absolute disaster. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they PR this come Thursday when they table it in Parliament.